All right, I'm here in Toronto with a nameless ghoul from Ghost. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Can we talk a little bit about your debut album, Opus Eponymous?
Sure.
It was wildly successful all over the world. You've garnered numerous bands that like your stuff. James Hetfield, Phil Anselmo. It's pretty impressive for a debut album. And now you've moved right on to a major label, signed with an affiliate of Universal. Did that surprise you? How quickly that happened?
Yeah. Yes. The obviously wasn't really planned to beforehand to go that way. Obviously now in hindsight it's sort of unclear trying to summarize what we had in mind at that point, because obviously that was probably a little bit naive thinking that we were going to be able to take those steps that we wanted show-wise and without actually going the route that we ended up taking, which couldn't be planned for, of course. You're never in charge of who's likely to become a fan of your band, and so yes, we were surprised by it, but very happy for it.
Now you guys have all committed to dressing up on stage, always in makeup, always mysterious, no one knows your identities. Was that always the plan when you guys first formed and started Ghost?
Yes, it was.
Any regrets about that plan?
No. Sometimes you get to a point when you've done 5 shows in a row and you just wish that you'd been as successful in a band that didn't do this, because it's very, 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 very complicated sometimes.
I mean, the first question that I think of is who, like, your family obviously know that you're in a band and that you are keeping your identity secret.
Yes.
But with the social networks the way that they are and how easy information travels around, you must all have to be pretty secretive about who you share that information out with.
I guess so. I mean, in our home city, I think it's pretty commonly known what we do.
Right.
It's hard to function as a human being if you're as secretive with it as we should be. But you cannot live a life that way.
Right.
It gets too complicated. And on a touring basis, we have found our way to sort of deal with it. And sometimes it gets weird, and sometimes it's just relieving. I mean, we can pretty much go out in the venue after playing and not be bothered, which is obviously the single guys in the band might think that is a little bit annoying, because you actually have to work you have to put in a little effort and a little charm in order to consummate.
Fair enough.
But I think that's probably a good thing for the well-being of your mind.
Would you attribute most of Ghost's success to word of mouth?
Well, I would probably certain special people's mouths that talked a lot about us. But yeah, of course we. I'm not in any way trying to slag our old label or our labels, but it wasn't really on their agenda to sort of spread the word longer than the immediate sort of doom metal circle, and had we not been sort of picked up by advocates and people that started spreading it further, they would not have done anything about that.
Yeah. I think the material speaks for itself, though. I mean, Opus Eponymous is an interesting album. It was different for when it came out. There's a lot of great sounds that come through. There's a real 70s sound, smooth vocals. I like the style of lyrical presentation where it's very evil, but it's just sung in such a pleasant manner. it's interesting. It's very different than anything else that I've heard before. So
Thanks.
I think it was kind of natural that it would catch on even in small circles, and I'm kind of amazed that it steered you to a major label, and that you've got more push behind you for a second album. It's nice.
Yeah, I mean we are very glad about how things turn out, and I mean, obviously we're not really there yet. I think that that's probably one of the most common, speaking of people that you know, that they think that, wow, how does it feel to being there? We're not there. Yeah. We're halfway to first checkpoint.
Yeah.
So it's all just a big... the only finale is how to quit it with grace. So that's what we're planning. Doing it with a big bang. Then we can talk.
Fair enough. You've been categorized, like you had mentioned doom metal, heavy metal, however you want to call it. Do you feel like that's an accurate representation of your music, or do you feel that Ghost could appeal to a broader audience than just a metal audience?
I guess so. I think that just looking at our crowds, it's very, very diverse. It's a great mixture of headbangers to normal people,
right,
for the lack of better categorization. Yeah, I definitely think that we have the ability to attract people regardless of their record collections or lack of. I think that everybody that's likely to go see a horror movie or something similar is probably likely to go see us.
Yeah.
And if we're a heavy metal band or a doom metal band or not, I really don't care. I mean, I understand why the most anal of protectors of what's true metal and what they find annoying about us being labeled as metal this or this other sort of metal. I know I am from the same subcultural background, so I know that it's very picky.
Yes, yeah.
And let's just say that we're a hard rocking band. We play rock music.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's the only sort of style that we can confess to. Horror rock.
I think it's nice that you've been able to get on so many interesting tours. The Opeth Mastodon tour was, a very diversified representation of different styles of music.
Yeah.
I got to go and see you at Orion Festival last year as well. I got to see you all in white, which kind of surprised me. I didn't realize that you had an assortment of different outfits for different tours, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, since we have painted ourselves thematically so much in the corner, and there's not a whole lot of expression going on in terms of facials and the ordinary things that you can expect from a band, different, dressing differently and sporting another band T-shirt, or
right.
We have to continuously sort of renew ourselves in order to keep being interesting for ourselves as well. I mean, it gets very, very monotonous. So,
I'm curious about Papa too. How did you see that transference of going from your lead singer from Opus to the lead singer for Infesticium?
We just... Obviously, we knew this before.
Right.
And the plan is to have that succession continuously going.
So it'll happen again?
Yeah, the third album is going to be a new one.
Really?
That's the point. And that way you can sort of keep moving, and I think that it's going to be even more clear in the future when we are hopefully, as we are growing,
right,
when we can make a bigger I mean, here at Opera House, you can do a lot of you can make a visual appearance, but obviously, if you go to an even bigger stage and if you go to a different kind of forum where you can bring in more production, there's obviously way more things a band like us can do in order to make a stage show really interesting.
Right.
And I think that as time goes and we develop that better, I think that it will come in handy to have Papa coming in different forms, different ages, different shapes, different... He's supposed to be way more diverse than he was a year ago.
Interesting. I tried like crazy to hear the Depeche Mode cover that you guys have put out in your Japanese release of the new album.
Right.
I can't even stream it anywhere online. Do you think that that'll see the light of day here in North America?
I have no idea, actually, because we chose to put it on the Japanese version, and that Japanese version is not released yet. It's out in May something. I don't remember.
Man.
And it's just supposed to be on that. I mean, physically, it's just supposed to be on that one. So I would assume that as soon as it's physically released, it'll be everywhere, anyways.
Probably. But will you guys host it on your Facebook page or on your web page where people can stream it legitimately?
I don't think so. I'm not sure right now. There's obviously being a the label situation that we're in is very bureaucratical, and all of them have different territories, and there are different exclusivities with Spotify this and iTunes that, and blocking and geo-blocking and all those things. That's sort of out of our control, so you can't really do much about it, and we are just relying on the expertise of our fans to find whatever they want online. Basically.
Fair enough. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about recording in Studio 606 with Dave Grohl?
Lots of fun.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was a very inspiring milieu to be in. Obviously, his studio is basically Foo Fighters' headquarters. Mm-hmm. So it's a big, very professional studio, very much thought out, obviously built by musicians, with the intention of making a band feeling very welcome.
Right.
And just walking around in that sort of environment that captures not only the history of one band, but actually two bands.
Yeah.
It's very inspiring, and working with someone like Dave, who's been in two very successful bands, and even more,
right,
is inspiring and it's a very joyful experience.
At what point in the recording process for the second album was that song recorded? Towards the end, in the middle, or at the beginning? Before
the record was recorded, because we wanted to record a bunch of covers, mm-hmm. and before we replanned, the idea was to bring those covers to Nashville, where we record the album. But we felt that putting 4 or 5 extra songs into the recording of the album is going to sort of compromise either the record or those songs.
Right.
Because it usually ends up being the songs that you record last week with no stamina, and you do a half-assed job doing that, and that's why B-sides sometimes suffer from lack of balls, basically. So we felt that when the opportunity to work with Grohl came up, we felt that, well, let's do that before going to Nashville. Just do that, get our rocks off, basically. So by the time that we get to Nashville, we'll just be able to focus on the record.
Right.
So the recording of the covers was way more playful, and whereas recording the album was basically just re-recording the songs that we had just recorded once before. Since we had done quite elaborate demos on all the record songs.
Right.
So that was just more of a recreating and getting the takes right.
Yeah.
Whereas recording with Grohl was way more of a haphazardly fun thing where, we changed instruments, and Dave was playing drums in a few songs, and maybe he did a little guitar thing.
Right.
And it was just basically more fun.
Cool.
So.
The orchestrations that are in songs like The Year Zero and even in Gula, they weren't recorded in Nashville. They were done at a different studio after you laid down the groundwork for the songs.
Are you talking about the vocals? The
yeah,
choirs?
the harmony use. It almost sounds orchestrated in a couple of the songs, like you brought in different instruments and voices. And
yeah, well, all the choir parts were recorded in LA.
Nice. Were you all present for that recording, or was that just something that was done afterwards? And
I was present over the magic of internet, overseeing the recording. But it was basically a last-minute surgery that we had to make, just because it was basically impossible to get choirs done in Nashville. Couldn't be done, and this was all around Christmas time, I think. So it was impractical to do it in Sweden, and if you want to find a group of people that's willing to dive headfirst into satanic blasphemy, you go to Tinseltown.
Fair enough. Well, I was impressed. I really liked Opus. I thought it was an awesome album, and I didn't know what to expect from album number 2, so it was very pleasant to hear it so full of different styles, and I think that you're trying a couple of really interesting things in a few of the songs. At the moment, I think Gula is my favorite track on the disc, but I play the whole thing from beginning to end, and I like all of it. So,
glad to hear that. Thank you very much, man.
Cheers. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.